Am I the butthole for refusing to be in the delivery room when my wife delivers? I know the title sounds bad, but it is not what it is. I, 30, have been married to my wife, 29, for 3 years. She got pregnant in January this year and I was overjoyed. But one day she struck with the bombshell that the child wasn't mine. I was shattered. By then she was 6 months into the pregnancy and I did not have the heart to make her go through the legal process of divorce. It seemed that the baby's father ran for it when he heard my wife was pregnant. I did tell her that I would be filing for divorce once she gives birth to baby and made it clear that our relationship wasn't salvageable. She agreed and I told her she'd have to move out once the lease expires in January. She tells me that she is still in love with me and that our relationship could be healed once again. I told her no and she left it at that. We have been sleeping in separate room ever since and I help with her delivery-related treatment and visits to the hospital. Now again a few days back she asked me to be with her in the delivery room once she delivers as she wants me to be a support for her. I once again declined and told her that she could ask her mother to be in the room to take care of her and not to ask me to be with her in the delivery room. She went on to tell this to her parents and they have been messaging and calling me trying to change my mind and even went on to call me cruel. Am I the butthole for refusing to be in the delivery room? Edit. After reading your comments, I've decided to consult a lawyer and file for divorce immediately. Also planning on talking to her parents about taking her in and taking care of her stay at hospital. NTA. Please get a lawyer in case you are in a jurisdiction that automatically assumes paternity of a child born within a marriage so that you can ensure you are not fighting an uphill battle to not be legally responsible for a child that is not yours. Even if you don't change the living situation, make sure you are protected. Sure, thanks for your advice. This is so important. Do it now. Also, you should go to get a DNA test right away. They will absolutely do it in the hospital, and if she decides not to let you do a DNA test after, she could make you wait to get it court ordered. This is highly state dependent. I work in OB and our hospital does not do DNA tests. Not just state dependent, location dependent. Not everyone on Reddit is American. I thought the world equals America? Seems to be the general consensus on Reddit. I meant my comment as a joke, but it hit me just how many self-absorbed Americans there are that actually treat the world this way. I apologize for my country. Extremely good point. It does sometimes feel like US of Reddit. Apparently you can do prenatal DNA from a blood sample from the pregnant person now, so it's super easy and not invasive. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but A, how is it possible to get the DNA of the child from the pregnant person's blood when their circulation systems are separated, and B, how do you get a blood sample in a non-invasive way? DNA from the place, not the butthole, which is fetal in origin, sheds into mom's bloodstream and then can be separated from maternal blood in the lab. Taking a blood sample is the most invasive part of the procedure. So it's considered a non-invasive test, unlike amniocentesis where a needle is inserted into the amniotic sac to draw fluid for testing. I agree with the amazing moo cow, we might be related. This. Not sure where you are, but my husband was getting food when I filled out and signed the birth certificate. I thought it was weird that he didn't even need to sign it. Yep, same here. My husband wasn't in the hospital when I filled it out for either kid. He didn't have to sign because when you're married the husband automatically gets listed as the father. Don't dawdle. You really should have speed dialed the lawyer the second you found out. The affair partner needs to be the one who pays for the child support, not you. Testing is also a good idea in case she's mistaken. I really believe this woman will wave the baby in your face and scream, "You can't abandon this innocent babe now." Oh, definitely. And her pushing for him in the delivery room is the same. She thinks it will help tie him to her. That's some manipulative BS. Testing is also a good idea in case she's mistaken. That's actually a big thing here, since I'm guessing original post was having sex with the wife around the time of conception, otherwise his suspicions would have been raised sooner, and a lot of people don't realize how big the window of conception could actually be. I just saw a paternity court episode where the mother was insisting that one of her partners was the father because the last time she had sex with the other one was October 27th and her doctor told her she probably conceived in the first week of November, and she was just like, October 27th isn't in November, so it can't be the other guy. It was so dumb, but a lot of people think like that. Edit. Original post says in the comments that there was already a paternity test and he's not the daddy. Okay, that solves that. Then that makes him moving on ASAP more of a priority. I'm glad the update shows he's decided to speed things up. In my state, Oklahoma, if you're married, you're automatically listed as the dad, unless both of you sign forms at the hospital beforehand. And from what I've gathered from a coworker's story, even if it's not yours, if you're on the birth certificate, it's hell to get out of paying child support. You might show up at the hospital just to get that straightened out, then leave. I know that others have already said this, but I really want to underline it even more. Courts do not care if you are biologically the father. Courts care about what is best for the child, and that could mean you are obligated to support it. You are your wife's husband, and her responsibilities are your responsibilities too. You don't have to make her move out of the house until January if you do not want to, but you need to get those divorce papers signed. The hospital doesn't require both parents to sign the birth paperwork, especially if the mother is married, and if your name is written down, you're in really big trouble. I'm really glad you said that. Original post could end up paying child support for the next 18 years if he isn't careful. My mom and dad were friends with someone who actually had a lawyer calculate the cost of legal fees to resolve assumed paternity with his soon-to-be ex's child versus just paying the remaining years of child support. Some places do not make it easy to resolve. Can pay for the legal fees out of a joint account. Since OP's planning divorce, that's only half the cost when the account splits. OP is likely to do so anyway unless they can track down the real dad. The state worries about saving money way more than whether he gets effed. NTA. Her parents and your wife are hoping that you bond with this baby even though it's not yours and thus won't divorce her. It's a manipulation tactic. Came to suggest this. Poor form on their behalf. Why would he do anything to make this easier on her? NTA. If he's in the room, he will get caught up in it and become attached. Absolutely. Most people would. That's a low plan. He's done more than she deserves. His poor heart must be breaking. He deserves to have his boundaries respected after she's totally disrespected their marriage. This poor original post thought that baby was his until she was 6 months along. He is a bigger man than most, getting her to appointments and not kicking her to the curb. I can't help but wonder, what do the parents know? Have they been told everything? Oh, now that would be an interesting twist, if they don't know. Yeah, I read the post twice, and it's not like we haven't seen that before. I agree. The wife doesn't seem to think her actions will ultimately have consequences, so she might prefer no one knows the truth. Too many posters here leave uncertainties like that in their postings. It's a bit irritating for us readers. If original post doesn't edit to add or comment with the info, then yeah, that's annoying, but it's probably hard to draw the line on which details would be expected and which would be unnecessary. Exactly this. My sister got pregnant at 16 and decided upon adoption. My dad refused to see the baby after he was born, purely because he didn't want to bond with him. Despite his tough exterior, he can be an emotional softie when it comes to stuff like this, knowing the baby was going to be adopted. He knew he'd be affected if he did and didn't want to open a can of worms. I feel bad for your dad, but I'm glad he made a smart decision and was self-aware enough to do so. Definitely, NTA. You know what's really cruel? Cheating on your husband and trying to manipulate him into staying by employing your parents to bully him. Not the butthole. Since divorce is on the to-do list, I would say it's appropriate for you to stop going to these appointments as well. If you don't want to be involved with this child or rebuild your marriage, then you have to remove yourself from that situation. Otherwise, you may be on the hook for additional support/child support for a child that isn't yours. They will argue that you showed an interest and provided emotional support. Did you get a DNA test done, or is the assumption the child isn't yours based on your wife cheating? If you have DNA proof the child isn't yours, you should be taking concrete steps to separate yourself from the situation. Since she'll have an additional mouth to feed, I would argue that you should offer to leave the apartment to her. That will give you the opportunity to try and recover and move on in a new space that holds no reminders of her or her betrayal. Yes, I did after she confessed to me, and the child isn't mine. So your steps going forward should be to remove yourself entirely from the situation. All her pregnancy expenses are hers alone. You should not be assisting with any of this if you want a divorce. Especially if she is disregarding your words and feelings by assuming you can work this out. Talk to her and say it explicitly, we are getting divorced. I am not this child's father. I will not be a father figure to this child. You need to establish a different support system to help you through the remainder of your pregnancy. Also, go ahead and start divorce proceedings. With the current global situation, the process might take longer than usual/expected, so you don't want to waste time. Yes, and have written record of all this as well. Who knows, she may want you in the delivery room just so that she has more support if she sues you for child support. NTA. Also, since she got pregnant in Jan as per you, delivery will be any day now. Contact your lawyer ASAP. I am talking to a lawyer. I will also just jump in here and say, depending on where you live, even pre-virus divorces can take a long time. I would say, since there is no thought towards reconciliation, which to be clear is perfectly fine, you should start the process now. I'm so sorry you are going through this. Hopefully you have a good support system. ETA, vote, original post is not the butthole. I would also recommend to document everything you do and say. I would especially send a follow-up email stating the exact things to say you are getting a divorce and you are not going to be a father figure, that way you have a paper trail. Also, sorry to say it, but you need an STD test too. Obviously your wife wasn't using protection. We both did. Luckily we are fine. If you happen to read my comments, this answers my question about how you definitively know it's not your child, not the butthole. I know you're being nice, but you're also shooting yourself in the foot. I've read your comment and have noted the point you have made. NTA. It's not your child and you don't have to be there. End of really. My cousin spent thousands of pounds and watched his son be born to find out in the end wasn't even his. Glad that didn't happen to you, but still sorry this is happening for you. Be there for yourself and do what's right for you. Take care. Thanks. Make sure the location you live in doesn't automatically list you as the father because you are married. Some places do that and you will be stuck with child support even with a negative DNA test for 18 years. You might want to file uncontested divorce ASAP. Look out for yourself right now. She made her choice and she, and family, can deal with the consequences. Even if he filed for divorce and got it granted now, he'd still have to go through the process of getting himself removed from the birth certificate. In most states, it's not just if you're married, but if you're less than 6 months out from a divorce. Please update us later that you're not on the hook for being financially responsible for this baby. A lot of us are worried for you about this. Dude. Leave. It is not your responsibility at all. Why would you still be in the same house with this woman? You are being manipulated and taken advantage over. She hopes to lure you back in to take care of some other dude's kid for 18 years. It will be hard, but tell your wife to go to her parents and that's that. She cheated on you. Without protection, dude. And probably did it multiple times. Grab some of your lost dignity and kick her out. Take out the trash. NTA. Did she also tell her parents that it's not your kid and you'll be divorced shortly? You're doing the right thing. She might be hoping that once you see the baby that everything will magically be healed and you'll be its father, or that she can convince you to accept the child as you own to stick with child support. Her parents do know it's not my kid that is going to be born. Honestly, start the divorce process now. She'll try and play the new mom card after baby is born. And make sure you're not in the birth certificate. I'd make sure of that. And I'll move out of the house once the lease expires. Talk to your attorney, of course, but I would file ASAP and I would move out of that house now and couch surf or Airbnb it. Pay for the house until January if you want, but I would sever all support ties with your wife immediately. I split expenses with my ex during our divorce, which meant I paid for everything, versus starting formal support payments because I was being noble, but it ended up effectively adding a year to my alimony payments. Get out of the house now, maybe even try to get the house subleased or have the landlord start looking for tenants now. Breaking a lease is cheaper than 18 years of child support. Go now. Good luck. Honestly, it would be worth it for you, and only you, to break the lease. Talk to your landlord. Then they're the odd two. That's asking too much of you. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.